Good afternoon. A little something to ponder on this week's Torah portion. We are in the book of Numbers. This is Parasha Naso. It's chapter 4, verse 21 to chapter 7, verse 89. So just a little something to think about as you consider this week's Torah portion. So much of the book of Numbers reads like a detailed list or sort of a catalog of offerings as they pertain to the tabernacle. There is a great deal as to what is being offered to God, the order in which the items are to be offered, as well as the reasoning behind why these items are offered. To be quite honest, it does not make for very exciting reading, but it does establish a protocol for the priests of the temple. Now, in a very different vein in this portion, one of the most beloved blessings of the Jewish people is detailed in this portion as well. And that is, of course, the priestly benediction. These words, famous words, if you will, are offered to bestow God's favor upon those at the receiving end, often offered by the rabbi over people for different kinds of simchas or for coming to make an aliyah to bless the Torah. Now, in this portion, we have items and we have words. Now, what do they have in common? Well, at first thought, it doesn't seem that there is much in common at all. The sacrificial offerings in the tabernacle are tangible. They can be seen and they can be touched. In modern parlance, we might call them, quote, stuff. And in reality, stuff is important. We give stuff to those we love as a tangible sign of our inner affection. We place stuff in our homes to make them beautiful and comfortable places to spend our days in with our family and our friends. We put stuff on our bodies, not only to hide our nakedness, but in an effort to, hopefully, enhance our best qualities, or maybe even to attract the eye of a potential suitor. Stuff has many roles to fill in the basic scheme of life. We use stuff, we need stuff, and in many cases, we really like stuff. But then we have words. We cannot touch them, nor can we see them, but they are auditory. We hear them. Once they are uttered, however, they are gone, at least for the most part. We cannot walk by them daily as they sit on the mantle, like our stuff, and admire them. We can remember the words, and hopefully the memory of them fills us with some sort of peace, or perhaps happiness, some joy, or a little bit of contentment. Now, in both cases, both with the stuff and with the words, we are creating a bit of what we might call ritual. Now, while our worship practices in modern Judaism no longer require us to offer tangible sacrifices to God, our worship is not entirely devoid of stuff. Chief among the stuff that we still use in worship, in ritual, of course, is the Torah. The Torah is written a certain way, it is dressed a certain way, and it is treated in a certain way, all of which gives credence to its importance and to the honor that we bestow upon it. Other stuff of worship ritual may be candlesticks on Shabbat evening, wrapping ourselves in a talit, wearing a kippah, and even the very siddur, or the prayer book that we hold as we follow the service. These are the things or the stuff that we see in the synagogue as part of our community prayer life. Words, too, are part of our ritual. We recite the words of the Shema, for example. This is the basic creed, the basic tenet of Judaism, our belief in one God. It is recited the same way each time. We don't change the Shema. The words remain as they are. We have the Baruch Hu as another example. At the end of the service, we have the Aleinu, and of course, we have the Kaddish. These are all words that we recite. We cannot see them when they come out of our mouths. Yes, we can read them on the prayer book page, but we cannot see them as we speak them. But they do form a part of our synagogue ritual, a very important part. So then, which is more important? The stuff of ritual or the words of ritual? Both are given importance in this particular Torah portion. I would venture to say that one does not necessarily outweigh the other in importance. The stuff is part of the visual that we need to keep us in the proper space in our hearts and in the proper mindset for prayer. The Torah is a visual reminder of God and his words and the covenant that has guided us as a people. While we do not revere it or really pray to it, we do treat it with respect and we treat it with dignity, as it represents so much of who we are as a people. The words of ritual connect us to our history as well. These are words, sometimes taken directly from the Torah itself, that bind us to the long history of our ancestors. We hear them recited, and the sounds carry us away, for a few moments at least, from the world right now, right at this moment. We offer these words in thanksgiving. We offer these words in praise to God. We may know them by heart. We may not even need the prayer book in front of us to recite them. But they are words that, recited in a certain order, are part of our synagogue ritual. The word ritual is often considered a near synonym for rote, R-O-T-E. Rote is something that we do or that we say just because that is the way that it has always been. We've always said it that way. We've always recited it that way. We may not even understand the reason why we say it that way, but I think it moves beyond that. There is comfort in knowing the words of a particular prayer will always be the same. Knowing that the words can bring a sense of comfort and a sense of peace. There is comfort in knowing exactly how the Torah will be handled every time the doors of the Aron Kodesh are opened and the Torah is brought before the congregation. There is a comfort in not being surprised. There is a comfort in knowing what to expect. This Torah portion gives us some time to think about ritual of all kinds. And we understand that as time moves forward, as we make progress, that rituals may undergo some amount of change, just as they have from the time of the Torah and our ancestral Jews until the present day and the way that we worship. As much as many of us, many of our people who become bored too easily, we all need and crave that element of the expected, that element of the ritual, that element that we can count on week after week. So the prayers that we recite week after week, the Torah as it is taken from the Ark, and then we read from week after week, there is comfort in those rituals. If all of a sudden all of those things were to change, if all of them were to be very different from what we have come to expect, our comfort level as we come together in community and as we come together to pray would be entirely disrupted. There is comfort in knowing that when the service begins, we have some expectation of what is to follow next and then what will follow that. It is not a matter of being rote. It is a matter of ritual. If we light candles on a Friday night, if we say the blessing over the challah, if we say the blessing over the wine and make kiddush, those words remain the same. But again, they offer us a sense of peace. They offer us a sense of comfort, and they offer us the sense that Shabbat, that special time that we as Jews have each week, is beginning. And we're setting aside that time away from the busy, hectic week that maybe we had just finished. So this particular Torah portion lets us see that there is importance in ritual. And whether that ritual is something that we see, something that we can touch, or whether it's words that we hear, words that we read on the page of our prayer book, they are all important. They are all something that gives us a sense of peace. They are all something that gives us a sense of comfort. So as a people, we draw strength from that. We draw strength from knowing what to expect. We draw strength from knowing that everyone around us understands the ritual the same way that we do. So I wish you a great Shabbat Shalom. I wish you peace for the weekend, a relaxing weekend, and I look forward to sharing some words with you again next week. Good afternoon.